to talk to you a little bit about our perspective on things that we're seeing in patient and personnel safety. And we are looking in this session for the objectives of giving you a bit of an overview of the Australian foundations of safety and quality, some global trends that we're seeing that we think will impact on accreditation, and some particular Australian focus areas around performance data, analytics, AI, patient safety culture, and also sustainability in health services, which is really key. And I'm going to end by talking about some future models of accreditation. As mentioned in the introduction, I'm Group CEO of ACHS International, as well as the Australian Council on Healthcare Standards. And in our global work, we partner with healthcare services across the world, and we are in 25 different countries with these networks now, focusing around the Middle East and the Asia Pacific area. We've had a very long history in safety and quality. In fact, the foundations of safety and quality were with our organisation. We're in our 50th year this year, so we were celebrating here today with my staff. We are 50 years in the business, and we established the first safety and quality standards for Australia. We have national standards now that are across the country, and we are very pleased that in recent years the Australian healthcare system has indeed come out #1 for health outcomes, and this is from a report from America from the Commonwealth Fund. #1 in equity also, and #3 in the top overall rankings. And so when we have a look at how Australia performs against a range of different healthcare services, you can see Australia up there with Norway and the Netherlands in terms of our healthcare outcomes. And we're very proud of that performance as a healthcare system. We have a lot of experience in Asia, and we work very closely with our members. And this is just a sample of the sorts of groups that we accredit in the Asian space. We've been working with many different countries over a number of years, and we like to work on quality improvement as a journey with the organisations that we accredit. So as I mentioned, a good long history. Our first standards, the EQIP standards, we put in place in the mid-70s. We continue to revise, and they are ISQA approved standards, and use those globally. And we saw a lot of impact internationally, particularly during the pandemic, when the organisations who were accredited actually did better in terms of their response to the pandemic, which is very important. Here's some of the clinical impacts that we've seen in Australia from having consistent national standards. We've seen a decrease in bacteremia for patients in hospitals. We've seen decreased central line associated bloodstream infections. We've seen improvements in antimicrobial stewardship by hospitals, a very significant improvement. And we've also seen better management of medical history and making sure we avoid drug reactions. And we've had some great improvements in Australia on decreasing cardiac arrest within hospitals. What we're seeing overall in terms of the landscape is a focus that is moving from provider-centric, so focusing on the healthcare services, to much more patient-centric and consumer-centric. We're also seeing a move away from just a focus on hospitals to a focus on ambulatory, on clinics, on home care, and on remote care. And we're also seeing a different approach from consumers who are wanting to be actively involved in their care. And generational change is really driving what we're seeing in the workforce. So a lot of baby boomers, as we would call them, retiring from the workforce, and we've certainly seen that in the last year or so. and some of the younger generations who are coming through now into the healthcare workforce and have quite different expectations of what work will look like for them. Internationally, we're also seeing new models of care emerge, new ways of funding healthcare. Smart technology and AI, I'm sure you're talking about that in Thailand as well. And being able to do assessments virtually, so looking to new technologies to support assessment. Data analytics, absolutely critical, not only at the bedside in informing decisions, but also in the way in which it can support regulation and evaluation. And the use of performance data, which we see is really key to identify areas of risk. So in the last few years, as I'm sure you saw in Thailand as well, a lot of innovation was accelerated by the pandemic itself, and attitudes towards different types of healthcare delivery changed very rapidly. Digital transformation happened in a matter of days or weeks, things we've been talking about for years. So we've seen a very large strengthening of hospital in the home care, and the use of telemedicine as a way to bring care to patients where they are. And here's an example of a group that we accredit in Australia, but they're actually without borders. So they work as a global service, 24/7 support to people for their own well-being. So these new models of care also need new ways of looking at assessment. Excuse me. So we're meeting that challenge by making sure that accreditation adapts to the sorts of models that are being delivered. ACHS International introduced our Equip 7 telehealth accreditation, and we have a lot of interest and members signing up to our telehealth accreditation to really ensure that the telehealth that's being provided is still safe, quality care. And so with their approach to pharmacy, which is now integrated into polyclinics, into focusing on telemedicine and providing a really comprehensive care. So we're finding that new models are addressing the sorts of needs that patients are wishing. Our telehealth assessment focuses not only on the structure and the process, but on the outcome of the care that's being delivered.
We couldn't see your slide. We couldn't see your slide now. Please share it again.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I will see if I can share again.
Oh, share the host to Dr. Karen. You couldn't share now?
Can you see now?
Oh, okay, it's coming. Okay, now we can see
yes.
it. Thank you so much.
Sorry, there was some things popped up on my screen saying there was a breakout room. So I think that might have thrown me off the slide. So can you see now?
Now we can see. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And recognition of excellence in telehealth through our accreditation process is focused on how we can assess virtual care across a range of different settings. The healthcare workforce equally is important. And as I said, we're seeing some demographic change. We saw that a lot of clinicians and particularly nurses who had very burdensome work in the last few years and were thinking about retiring. A number of those people have retired. So we now need to think, what sort of strategy do we have at a national level around our workforce for the future? And how are we supporting them with the sorts of tools and culture that they need to be able to deliver the type of care that is safe and quality care? So what we're seeing is a move from an episodic approach at interval to looking at just compliance through to comparing with peers, and then a continuous focus on safety and quality improvement, which is really driven from within inside the organisation and ongoing. And this relates to how we move our thinking from just quality, but to value, on which quality is a component. And so we like to use this formula looking at quality plus experience through things like patient experience and patient-reported outcome measures and the outcomes. And we capture that through our use of performance data, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. So we like to look outside healthcare too, making sure that we're thinking about other industries and what is happening beyond healthcare. And so when we look at things like banking or building, infrastructure, the sorts of trends we're seeing in regulation is the increasing use of technology, and also tailored approaches. So not just one size fits all, but how do we look at the exemplars? How do we look at the outliers? Do we have different approaches in those areas? And as I've said, customer first, moving from process to focus on outcomes. And there's quite a big debate in other industries about not just more or less regulation, but what type of regulation might we need. So it's no longer one size fits all. And this is impacting on health service accreditation, and particularly the need to be redesigning our approach to data and looking at data dashboards, real-time data for safety and quality, and automating certain aspects of accreditation. So I wanted just to focus now on some of the things that we're doing in Australia and where we see things heading, particularly around performance data, patient safety culture, and sustainability in health services. I was lucky enough, as was mentioned, to spend some time in Harvard in the US a number of years ago, looking at high-performing healthcare systems. And what I found was that they had all of these characteristics, not just some of them, but all of them, that made them high-performing healthcare services. And particularly a focus on measurement and feedback reporting, and that continuous loop of information was important, as well as having a culture that was strongly supportive of change and learning. And so to support that, we need the best possible data. And so we're seeing an emergence of the use of predictive analytics to be able to help not only clinical decision making, but safety and quality governance as well. So at ACHS and ACHS International, we are focused on performance data, and we launched a new benchmarking platform just in recent months called Metric. And we have over 360 different indicators that make up this platform across 22 different clinical specialty areas. And our ACHS International members can contribute their data and get performance benchmarked against other international colleagues and Australian colleagues. And we've built AI functionality into this system. We produce trend analysis reports, which show where are the areas where you've made change and where are the areas that health services can still improve. And we publish that information each year. We have a program which is pulling on that data to demonstrate how services might be centres of excellence. So this is a certification which draws on data and your commitment to patient-centred care to be able to certify you as a centre of excellence in a particular clinical area. We're looking to the future as well to be thinking about how do we drive safety and quality going forward. So we're part of a multi-million-dollar project in Australia, which is helping to shape that future by thinking about how do we automatically pull from the electronic health record or electronic medical record in hospitals, data that can be used to support accreditation assessment and also decisions at the bedside by clinicians. So I want to turn now to just briefly talk about patient safety culture. There's a big focus in Australia now on the culture of the organisation because we know that that impacts on the safety and the quality of the care. And so when we look at studies and we look at data, we see that having a shared perception of the importance of safety is critical, mutual trust, a workforce that is engaged and always aware that things can go wrong, but it's about how you acknowledge those mistakes and have an open culture so that you can discuss them, learn from those mistakes and improve in the future. Person-centered systems, again, a big focus for us. We have a module around advanced person-centered systems that health services can be assessed against. And this set of principles really ensures that you're at the top of your game for person and patient-centered care. And finally, I'm just going to talk about some of the changes that we're seeing in the area of particularly environmental sustainability and the impact of climate change. And we know that this is a health issue. Not only do we see bushfires, floods, raising temperatures globally around the world, we see the World Health Organization acknowledging that climate change is the biggest health threat facing humanity and that it's going to have an impact on the sort of disease profiles that we will see, the environments that people live in, and the increasing presentations to hospitals. We know that if healthcare was considered as a country, we would be the 5th biggest emitter on the planet. And so what can health organisations do about that? Healthcare services emit carbon dioxide through a number of different parts of the service, be that the procurement of goods and services that are used, the energy use within the facility, the transportation of patients, or the waste that is produced. So lots of opportunities there for thinking about how we can improve. In Australia, we're really leading the way on some of the global green action for hospitals. Hospitals are joining networks to commit to reducing their ecological footprint. The Australian government, through our Safety and Quality Commission, has released a sustainable healthcare module for healthcare services. And we're seeing a range of our members who are putting in place new strategies. And I wanted just to share one of those with you. This is a case study from Australia, Royal North Shore Hospital here in Sydney. Focused on looking at how they reduce their anaesthetic greenhouse gas emissions. They found at the beginning of this piece of work that they had 1,000 tonnes of CO2 that were being emitted a year. They looked at the evidence about gases and they switched to using desflurane, which is a lower footprint gas. They reduced their emissions down to, they reduced 900 tonnes of carbon dioxide down to 100 tonne a year, and they saved the healthcare facility significant funds, 95,000 Australian dollars, which equates to about 62,000 US dollars a year. That was just 1 year, the savings for the healthcare service. So in conclusion, ACHS International very focused on how we can help our members in their safety and quality improvement journey. And we get lots of fantastic feedback. I'm very honoured as the CEO to get regular communication from our members as healthcare services to tell us what a difference we are making to those services. So in summary, we've got good, strong foundations in safety and quality in Australia. We watch very closely what is happening around the world, and we are at present very focused on performance, data analytics, AI, patient safety culture, and how we can help services to become more sustainable. So I wanted to particularly thank Dr. Pirwan and the fantastic work of the HA group, and to say Ka Kunka, thank you very much for having me today.